All right, Steelers Nation, this is it. The waiting, the speculation, the endless back and forth about who looks good, who might break out, who's turning heads in shorts and helmets, that all gets pushed to the side today. Because this is the moment we start seeing real football, not walk-throughs, not individual drills. Pads, contact, hits. Today at precisely 1:55 in the afternoon out on Chuck Noll Field, the Pittsburgh Steelers put the pads on, and with that we begin to understand, not guess, what this team is made of. Every year this is the turning point. Up until now it's been about flashes, a nice grab here, a slick interception there. You get those first few days where defensive backs and wide receivers shine, because they can. Because contact hasn't really been part of the equation yet. But let's be honest, making a spectacular catch in warm-ups or in 7's even doesn't really tell us much when the defense isn't flying downhill to blow up a screen, or when the offensive line hasn't had to absorb a full-speed bull rush, but now it starts. Now we see who's real. What I'm most excited about, and yeah, I know everyone has their eyes on the rookies, and the big offensive storylines, is the battle in the trenches. And not just the offensive line, which we always end up obsessing over whether we like it or not. I'm talking about the other side of the ball, the defensive line. The big boys up front who have the power to wreck a game plan before it even gets going. This is the year I want to see those names come alive, guys like Keanu Benton. This is when it begins for him, not when it's about potential but about production. I want to see him in the backfield creating chaos, forcing quarterbacks to make mistakes. Collapsing pockets, setting the tone. Now look, nobody's hitting the quarterback in training camp. That's common sense, but there are ways to show you would have gotten there. That extra gear at the end of a rush, that moment where the edge bends just right, or the inside move that splits a double team. You pull that imaginary flag, you do that celebratory kick like TJ Watt does when he knows he would have had the sack if it were game day, and all of that starts now. We've heard the hype about some of these guys on the line. A glimpse of this, a flash of that, but glimpses don't win games. Sustained dominance does. Today is the first step in proving they can deliver it. Derek Harmon, Yaya Black, these are names we've heard whisper during the early part of camp. But today they get their shot to go from whispers to roars. I want to see them eat, as Carl Dunbar would put it. This is their day to start climbing the ladder, to show they're not just guys. They're guys who can matter. And maybe the most intriguing piece here is rookie defensive lineman Logan Howard. This dude, man, if he lives up to his billing, if he becomes the kind of force that can live next to Cam Hayward, this defense becomes something else entirely. Think about it. You put a true first-round caliber talent next to Cam. That doesn't just help the line, it elevates the whole defense. Suddenly TJ Watt isn't getting doubled every snap. Suddenly offensive lines have to make decisions they don't want to make. Do we chip Watt? Do we slide protection to Cam? Or do we deal with this kid coming up the gut with violence? And if they have to start thinking that way, you open up everything for the linebackers. Guys like Cole Holcomb get more space to operate. Jalen Ramsey, who's already shown he can hover near the line and still cover sideline to sideline, becomes even more of a weapon. The ripple effect is massive. And here's the thing, if this team is really going to contend into Mil even E5, it's not going to be because the offense magically turns into the greatest show on turf. Let's be real here, that side of the ball still has to prove itself, and until we see it with our own eyes, it's just speculation. But defense, that's where this team can be special, not good, special. Top 3 in the league minimum, and it all starts up front. That's why the development of Logan Howard isn't just a curiosity. It's essential. Of course, when we talk about what's different this year, we have to look at the man running the show, Mike Tomlin. Has he changed on the surface? No. Tomlin doesn't like to admit when something didn't work, and he sure as hell doesn't enjoy altering course in a way that looks like a reversal. But beneath the surface, yeah, there are signs, quiet signs. In conversations behind the scenes, away from press conferences and media availability, there's talk of positionless football. Tomlin's been more open than ever about wanting smart, flexible guys who can move around and do different things on the field. Players who aren't locked into one role, players who adapt. That shift, and make no mistake, it is a shift, has reshaped the roster. You don't go out and bring in hybrid defenders or stack up versatile linebackers who can cover and blitz without having a plan. And clearly between Tomlin, Omar Khan, and Andy Weidl, they've cooked something up that goes beyond what we've seen in recent years. There's an emphasis now on players who not only play fast but think fast. Because when you play this kind of flexible roaming defense, you need brains to match the brawn. That's what this group has been built for. That's why guys like Ramsey and Holcomb and even rookies like Howard fit the mold. They're aggressive, they're athletic, but above all they're smart. Still, some decisions have raised eyebrows. Letting a Landon Roberts walk, for example, that one stings. He brought toughness and leadership. But if Holcomb returns to full form and if Quan Alexander and the rest of that linebacker group can hold it down in coverage and stop the run, then maybe, just maybe, that decision makes more sense than it looked at first, but it all hinges on complementary pieces stepping up, defensive backs becoming more aggressive, pass rushers getting home, and interior linemen like Benton and Howard setting the tone early and often. I know a lot of fans want to buy into the idea that this offense is going to take a massive leap forward. And hey, I get the hope. There are weapons, there's potential, but hope isn't strategy. Defense is where the identity of this team lives. It has to be. If the Steelers are going to make noise in January, it won't be because they're putting up 35 points a game. It'll be because opposing teams dread playing them. Because every snap is a battle. Because they can stop the run, pressure the passer, and confuse quarterbacks with looks they've never seen on tape. That's the vision, and part of that vision is Tomlin evolving just enough. Not abandoning who he is, but adjusting to what the game demands. You can see it in the roster. You can feel it in the way practices are structured. There's more motion, more experimentation, more blending of responsibilities. And that tells me one thing: we are not going to see the same Steelers defense we saw last year. Not in terms of numbers, not in terms of rankings. I'm talking about how it looks, how it plays, how it imposes itself. So yeah, Tomlin might still fly the team to Ireland on a Friday just like he did back into Millie Trez when it didn't exactly work out. But when it comes to the X's and O's to how he's preparing this team to adapt, to grow, to play fast and smart, there's real evolution happening. And if this defense clicks the way it's being built to, then this team's ceiling just got a whole lot higher. And what's most fascinating right now, what really pulls you into the core of this team's identity, is how much is riding on these subtle but significant shifts. We've spent so many off seasons talking about the same stuff: offensive line stability, quarterback development, who's calling plays, whether this young receiver will finally make the leap. And while none of that goes away, there's a different energy surrounding this defense. It's not just about maintaining a standard anymore. It's about redefining it. It's about constructing something unique in a league that's increasingly about versatility and disguises. The Steelers have always been known for their hard-nosed physical style, but now they're trying to pair that old-school violence with new-school unpredictability. Take the way they're using Ramsey, for example. This guy has been a chess piece since day one. He's been lining up near the line of scrimmage, then dropping into deep coverage, then bouncing outside, then blitzing. It's like watching a linebacker and a nickel corner inhabit the same body. And it's not just about what he can do individually. It's about what that flexibility unlocks for the rest of the defense. It's what allows T.J. Watt to move around more freely. It's what gives Minkah Fitzpatrick the license to roam and react rather than stay locked in a single deep zone. You see this kind of movement, this chaos within control structure, and you realize, yeah, this isn't last year's defense. This isn't even the Steelers' defense from 5 years ago. This is something else entirely, something bolder. That boldness also comes with risk. The more complex your system, the more communication becomes essential. And this is where the coaching staff is being put to the test. You cannot roll out positionless football unless your guys know every assignment inside and out, every shift, every audible, every disguise. It has to be tight. Because the second it isn't, you give up a 4-yard gain. But you can see they've accounted for that in the way they've built this group. Veterans who've been around, rookies who came in already ahead of the curve mentally. It's no accident. You don't stumble into a defense like this. You sculpt it. One of the biggest advantages this defense has right now is depth. Not in the way people usually talk about it. Not just bodies, but real rotational value. Guys who can come in and actually contribute without the production dipping. When you have a front that can rotate 6-7 guys and all of them bring something to the table, you wear offenses down. You force quarterbacks into quicker decisions. You break protections with fresh legs and heavy hands. And that's what Carl Dunbar and this defensive line group are aiming for. They're not trying to just build a solid front. They're trying to build a unit that can come at you in waves. It's not just TJ or Cam anymore. It's multiple threats coming from multiple angles at all times. That's how you create turnovers. That's how you dominate third downs. That's how you take over games. The question now becomes, can they sustain it? Can these young guys who look great in camp and pop in early preseason reps hold up over the grind of a 17-game season? Can someone like Howard truly handle being next to Cam Hayward and take on double teams, read and react, explode into gaps with consistency? That's the next step. That's what the pads tell us. That's why this part of camp matters so much more than what's come before. Because it's not about speed and agility drills anymore. It's about power, leverage, reaction time. It's about who still performs when everything hurts and the guy across from you is trying to take your head off. And beyond just individuals, you want to start seeing synergy. You want to see the coverage tighten at the same time the pass rush gets home. You want to see linebackers filling gaps because the defensive tackles are commanding double teams. That cohesion is what separates good defenses from great ones. And with how this roster is built, there's potential for that harmony to finally exist again. For the first time in a while, it doesn't feel like this group is being held together by duct tape. An elite play from a couple of superstars. It feels like they've got a complete unit brewing. Now it's just about time and repetition. Then there's the leadership dynamic. Cam Hayward is still the tone setter, no question about that. His presence, his voice, his work ethic, it all defines the heartbeat of the defense. But what's fascinating now is the emergence of other voices. TJ Watt is no longer just a freak athlete coming off the edge. He's a cornerstone, a communicator, a leader. Mink is the same way. And now you've got younger guys trying to find their own voices within that structure. It's a healthy thing. You want that natural passing of the torch to happen gradually, not all at once, and it's happening. Here, in real time, these joint practices, these padded sessions. This is where that identity starts to crystallize. And what about Tomlin in all this? He's always been a defensive-minded coach. He speaks the language. He understands what makes these guys tick. And now you get the sense that he's enjoying the process of helping this unit evolve. There's a fire to him this summer. You can see it in the way he talks to the players, the way he moves around the practice field, the way he handles post-practice huddles. It's subtle, but it's there. He's challenging guys, not in a cliche motivational poster kind of way. In a "you better know what the hell you're doing or I'll replace you with someone who does" kind of way. That edge is real and it's contagious. What I also find intriguing is how this defensive transformation could impact the offense. If this group becomes elite, it takes pressure off the other side of the ball. You don't need fireworks. You don't need 4-yard bombs every other drive. You need efficiency. You need smart play calling. You need to capitalize on the short fields the defense gives you, and that's a formula that works. It's old school, sure, but it works. Especially when your defense is forcing turnovers and flipping momentum. That allows the offense to settle and take calculated risks and control the game script. And let's be clear, the AFC is not getting easier. This isn't a conference where you can afford to be average on either side of the ball. You've got to bring something to the table that forces other teams to adjust. And for the Steelers, that has to be the defense, not just statistically but emotionally. They have to be the kind of team that walks into your stadium and changes the mood. That makes your offensive coordinator rethink his first 15 scripted plays. That makes your quarterback look uncomfortable before the first snap. That's the edge they need. That's the intimidation factor that's been missing at times over the last few years. And now it feels like they're building it again. That's why this next stretch of camp is so important. It's not just evaluation, it's identity formation. It's about installing habits, it's about chemistry, and more than anything, it's about urgency. No one's promised tomorrow in the NFL. You get one shot at putting it together before the real games begin, and this is where you lay that foundation. This is where guys earn their spots, where depth charts get rewritten, where legacies begin. We're not just watching drills anymore, we're watching battles, for jobs, for roles, for respect. And that's what makes this phase of training camp the most revealing. It's raw, it's physical, it's honest. You can't hide in pads. And for a team that wants to punch above its weight in the toughest division in football, this is where you prove you belong. So as we keep an eye on these next practices, on the film, on the rotations, just remember, this isn't just about who looks good in August. It's about who's ready to change games in December and January. It's about building something that lasts, something that punches back. And right now, all eyes are on that defense to be the foundation of it all. What truly stands out as we move deeper into training camp is the palpable sense of evolution within the Steelers' defensive unit. The coaching staff has clearly embraced the concept of positionless football, pushing players to expand their roles and adapt in ways that demand not just physical skill, but also a high football IQ. It's no longer enough to simply know your position. Players are expected to understand the entire defensive scheme, to read offenses quickly, and to adjust on the fly. This approach reflects a broader shift in the NFL where versatility reigns supreme, and the Steelers are right in step with that trend. Watching these players operate in pads for the first time this camp adds a new layer to this narrative. It's one thing to see athletes run routes or break down film, it's another entirely to witness them engage in live contact where strength, leverage, and technique become as important as speed and agility. This is where the true measure of a player's readiness shows up. Who can handle the grind of consistent physicality, who maintains discipline when things get chaotic? These moments reveal the players who will endure the season and those who might falter under pressure. The defensive line in particular is the centerpiece of this transformation. The Steelers have made clear their intention to create a disruptive front that demands constant attention from opposing offenses, with veterans like Cam Hayward anchoring the line and younger players like Howard and Benton stepping into more prominent roles. There's an opportunity for this front to be both experienced and dynamic. It's a balance that's difficult to achieve, but if it's pulled off, it could significantly elevate the entire defense's performance. When the front four can collapse the pocket and control the line of scrimmage, it opens everything else up. Linebackers can roam freely, defensive backs get more chances to make plays, and the entire defense becomes more aggressive. That aggressiveness is something Coach Tomlin has long valued. His philosophy has always centered on smart, disciplined football, but this year there's a noticeable shift towards encouraging calculated risks. The defense isn't just reacting, it's proactively creating chaos for offenses. This subtle change in mindset could be the difference maker in close games where turnovers and momentum swings are critical. When a defense plays with that kind of confidence and freedom, it becomes infectious, fueling energy and belief throughout the entire team. Another aspect worth highlighting is how the defense's improvement might alleviate some pressure on the offense. If the defense can consistently get stops and generate turnovers, the offense won't need to force big plays or carry the entire load. This could be a key factor for a Steelers offense that still has questions to answer, particularly at quarterback and along the offensive line. A reliable defense allows for a more balanced, controlled game plan, which is essential in the high-stakes environment of the AFC North. The leadership dynamic on defense is evolving as well. Cam Hayward remains the emotional and tactical leader, but there's a growing sense that younger players are stepping into leadership roles. T.J. Watt's influence continues to expand, not just as a playmaker, but as a voice that rallies and directs. Minka Fitzpatrick's versatility also places him in a unique position to guide the secondary through complex coverage schemes. This blend of veteran presence and emerging leadership creates a resilient culture that could sustain the defense through the inevitable challenges of a long season. As the Steelers prepare to face a demanding schedule, the hope is that this defense will not only meet expectations but exceed them. The shifts in scheme, the infusion of new talent, and the growing chemistry all point to a unit on the rise. But football is a results-driven sport, and ultimately the proof will be on the field. The preseason and early regular season games will offer crucial insights into whether this defense can live up to its potential and become the force the Steelers need.